Since its launch in November 2015, Fresh is the Word has been a documentation of sorts for me, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, as I journey through my love of music and pop culture, as well as using this platform to share my growth on topics important to me, which includes topics involving women's rights, people of color, and the LGBT community through the artistic lens of pop culture. As an ever-evolving podcast, I'm going back to my roots, focusing more on the music artists I'm passionate about from the past and present. From the classic hip-hop artists I grew up on, to the new faces of dance. And from the metal bands I've long appreciated, to the indie alternative artists stealing my heart. Fresh is the Word aims to tell the stories of those who need their contributions to music known, while also exposing my audience to the next artist to watch out for. Sometimes before they blow up.
Fresh is the word.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, and like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. My guest for this episode is Fernanda Lira, vocalist and bassist of the newly formed Brazilian-Dutch death metal unit CRYPTA. With her all-new band formed in June of 2019, they would start their journey together that would result in their debut album, Echoes of the Soul, released in June of 2021 via Napalm Records. During my chat with Fernanda, we talked about her transition from Nervosa to CRYPTA, along with her creation of the new band into their debut offering, Echoes of the Soul. We also touched on the culture and society of the part of Brazil she comes from, along with her being a role model for women that want to become a metal artist. It was always great talking with her. She was a joy to talk with. A little bit of an announcement about this podcast. There's going to be some changes with Fresh is the Word as a brand and as a podcast. I'm kind of winding down Fresh is the Word as being a podcast. It will kind of exist in its own way. Fresh is the Word is going to be the parent brand, and there's still going. I haven't made fully the decision yet because there's going to be some ways where I still will have a Fresh is the Word podcast, but I'm going to kind of downplay it as a podcast more so make the things that I do on here shorter and more bite-sized and part of like social media and whatnot. But what I'm gonna also do is I'm gonna start a new podcast that basically does everything that I do on here, but more in a concise manner, meaning a season will be dedicated to one topic, or something like that. I haven't made complete decisions, but there's going to be some changes with the Fresh is the Word podcast and the brand. So always keep up at freshpodcast.com and all the social media to what's next on here. I'll keep you in tune with what's going on. But, you might not see the Fresh is the Word podcast, new episodes come up as regularly as before. I'm kind of on a hiatus right now as I sort of like think about what I want to do next. But there's still going to be episodes here and there. So with that said, let's get into this interview with Fernanda Lira, vocalist and bassist of CRYPTA. And now a brief word from our sponsor. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel seeks to bring original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. They also provide an array of services. In the world of wrestling, where there are hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all of their tees in-house. If you would like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, even Zubaz, then drop them a line. Go to 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20, the letter X, the number 20, apparel.com. All right, welcome back. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. And joining me today is Fernanda Lira. She's a member of the band CRYPTA. They have a new album out, Echoes of the Soul. It's their debut album on Napalm Records, and it is quite fresh. I love it. How you doing today?
Hey, nice to be talking to you. I'm doing great, doing just great. Like pretty happy about all the feedback we've been having on the album. So yeah.
Cool. I've been a big fan of your previous band Nervosa for a long time. I actually saw you guys perform in Lansing, Michigan, years ago. And it was funny.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, it was funny. Like, I had just like come across you guys like a week before that show happened. And I was like, oh man, Nervosa's dope. I like this. And then I looked at your tour dates and I'm like, oh, they're going to be in Lansing, Michigan, next week. I'm like, I'm totally going because I live just outside of Detroit, Michigan in the States. And I was just like, oh, I'm going. And it was that tour that you also had that other all women band Suspended with you guys, and I was just like, they rock too, man. So I had such a fun time at that show, and like you guys ripped it.
Thank you, man. That was a nice tour. Like both tours we did in the U.S., they were like some of the most memorable to me. Like I still have so many cool memories, and the Suspended girls, like they were so, like we had such a warm welcome to the US with them in both tours. They are so nice and so welcoming, and they also kick ass on stage. It was nice to see, like this whole all women lineup every night. And we had so much fun during the trips and everything. It was just so cool. I love both tours we did in the US. I just love them. Like I sometimes I get to see some pictures and then I'm like, I miss that. So I get so nostalgic because it was definitely like, and I had been touring a lot with Nervosa, but those two tours, they stand on the top of my favorite ones, definitely.
Yeah, I was super psyched to be able to see you guys, especially, now that we've had this pandemic and people and bands just can't tour, like you feel kind of lucky to be able to, that you saw these bands that you loved from different countries. At that time, I was like, oh, I'm super, I'm glad I was able to see that at that time.
Yeah. And yeah, with this pandemic thing, damn. I mean, it just gave us some more time to be planning stuff because we've been sitting at home, but like planning's been full force. But yeah, we just can't wait being back in the US. And with the pandemic, like we've been planning a lot. There's a couple of options we've been analyzing as to I'm saying coming back to the US, but with CRYPTA is gonna be our first time. So
yeah,
I just can't wait.
Yeah, recently I had Preeka on the podcast, and it was cool talk with her, for the same reasons, big fan of Nervosa. But now, you've stepped away from that band and you're have your own band with CRYPTA. And what was sort of your, reasoning for wanting to start this band?
CRYPTA actually was born we were thinking of having it as a side project actually, because when it was created, we were still in Nervosa and pretty much focused in and everything we had in Nervosa. I was totally in the band yet. Still. And but you know what? Our relationship was kind of strained out. It was kind of worn out. And we felt actually the idea came from our drummer, Luana, who also played with me in Nervosa back then. And she's always been a death metal drummer. She played thrash for the time period she was in Nervosa, but she's a death metal drummer. And she kind of missed playing death metal. And she was like, yeah, I definitely want to have a death metal side project. I would love to, you to come with me. And we have this side project going on. And I thought it could be refreshing, because as I said, our relationship there was really worn out already. And I thought it would be healthy actually to have a different band environment and a different creative outlet, I thought all of this would contribute to, like to have my situation like a little bit refreshed in Nervosa. But in the end, like we ended
Recording
up like
in progress.
After like a year, we were there in Nervosa. After we created CRYPTA, we decided to quit the band, and I decided it first actually. I want to just join. And then it was like actually comforting that CRYPTA was there, because like I was in a very bad place emotionally when I left Nervosa, because like I was there from the scratch. I remember polishing the first songs and creating the first lyrics of the band and answering the first email from the label, like stuff like that. So it's been my life for nearly a decade, and when I had to quit it because like I just knew that we were not sharing like the same ideas and excitement anymore. So when I decided to quit, I knew it would be the right decision. Like we all knew something needed to be done so everyone could be happy at writing music again. But it was like a bold step, and it was the hardest decision of my life. But now I look back and I'm happy I took this step, because you see, like Nervosa is there with an album everyone likes. We're here with an album everyone likes. So it's cool. I'm actually happy to look back. But then talking about CRYPTA again, I was in a very bad place emotionally. I was grieving literally, and it was comforting that CRYPTA was there, because if I had to start like really from scratch with another band again, I don't know if I would have had the strength to do so. Like I was like with a very like sad perspective about everything, but CRYPTA was there already, and that got me motivated. Like it got me up every day, and I would think, okay, this is my new thing now. At least I still have something to work on. And then in a couple of weeks, like I got real motivated again. So I'm really thankful for CRYPTA. Like it started off as being a side project that we would, like play here and there in between Nervosa's appointments. But in the end, it just naturally became my main band, and I'm so thankful it was there. Otherwise, I don't think I would be having, like another band like till now, I think, because I was just like, really sad and everything.
Was Napalm Records interested in CRYPTA before or after you left Nervosa?
They didn't know about CRYPTA when we created the band, because it was meant to be a side project. We were not in a rush, like we were just like baby steps, started writing, and the idea was even not announcing it back then when we did. The idea was to announce it like right now, prior to just a bit before the first release. But we just felt like we should announce it, because everyone was like, are you gonna still be music? Like, so they were kind of desperate. So we were like, okay, we still have a band. But yeah, so that's why I didn't let Napalm know about it. And also I thought, I don't know, I just thought it was not the right time. But then when I left Nervosa, when I quit Nervosa, I wrote them, like a thank you for everything email, because I had been dealing personally with them, like mainly for 95% of the time I was in Nervosa. So, and I consider them family, like I was dealing with them in a daily basis for almost a decade. So I was writing an email saying thanks for everything. And then the CEO told me, okay, like, keep me posted on whatever new you have, because we definitely would like to hear it. I was like, okay. But I swear to God, I was not expecting them, like to sign us or anything. I just thought he was just maybe being polite.
Just being nice,
yeah. And then, yeah. And then like just some time before we actually announced the band, CRYPTA, I sent over a demo or a couple of demos his way. And then, like as soon the moment we announced the band, there was all that hype and everything. The same day he wrote me like, "We want to sign CRYPTA like right away. This is the deal. Let me know if you want to change anything. Let's talk. Like we really want to have you in." And that was also so comforting. Like not only because I knew then that we would have the chance, like to produce a nice quality album. We would be backed up for that. But also, like when you have to change companies, like whichever company you're working with, there's always this adaptation process. And then, like it takes a while to, you understand how things work and how everyone is, and
but you
like
already
how the
had like a
environment
working
is.
relationship with them, and you knew them, and you thought of them as family, so it was like comforting, to be able to continue to work with them.
Yeah, it was just family. I just felt like being back home, to be honest. I was so happy, and also that also got me more motivated because looking back now, I think I was a bit pessimistic, let's say. And then my friends were like, "But what were you expecting? Don't you think they would be willing to sign?" It was like, no. Why would they? I don't know.
No,
It was just like a bit pessimistic at the time.
when I look back, since I started, listening to Nervosa on your way through CRYPTA, like even just looking at your social media, like you personally have a following, like, and that's something that a lot of members of bands don't have. Like, you have like anytime you post something, you have like a ton of people, commenting, liking your photos. You personally have a lot of people behind you, so it makes sense that you'll be valuable with this other band that you're starting with CRYPTA.
Yeah, now I can see, like because I was so attached to the band. I got the band tattooed here, like Nervosa, and I got so attached to it that to me we were, like we were one. And then when I quit, I kind of felt, I think, a depersonalization. I don't know if that word even exists in English, but I think you can get a picture. Like it was a weird time. And then now with time, I noticed that, yeah, I am, like I am someone in the metal scene. I'm not the band I was in, and I'm not fully the band I'm in now. We're a group of, like of girls playing, but I know, like I was someone independently of being in Nervosa or whatever now, but I couldn't kind of notice that at the time. It was pretty weird, but also, like it's not only I think this, like many followers and everything. I think it's of course because of the music, but like I'm involved in so many other stuff. I have my holistic esoteric side, and I have this social side. I'm a social activist, and like it's just my feed is just so varied.
Yeah, you put yourself out there in a way. You have your serious stuff, and then a lot of times you put funny kookies. You don't mind looking like a dork in a photo or whatever. Like, it's great. Like, you'll post a photo of you performing and have some weird face, and you'll like caption this or whatever, and you'll make fun of yourself too, so it's like people are drawn to that. People like seeing that sort of confidence especially from a woman in metal.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like I have this in mind that I don't bother like whoever wants to do this, but I don't want to be, like pure musical entertainment. I love doing that. But I also get a point, like, and one of my main points is that I just want people to feel like the musicians they like and the people they follow, they're also human beings, like, and I see that there's like, especially nowadays with social media, like it's demanded perfection and everything's got to be perfect. The picture needs to be like this and this and that, and there's the right angle, and I don't like that because I'm not like that in a real life. Like I'm not in like black leather and studs walking around my home, like playing with a cat on the street. I'm not. I'm this, like, for example,
with a mean
right now
face, like
I had like a unicorn pajama.
Yeah.
And that's me. That's me. And I want to show this because, like we're bone and flesh just like you guys. Let's have some fun and I'll also share, like my worries. I just like to share my vision of the world. And I think it's cool because I think it also might inspire people to also be themselves and without, like so much perfection because this doesn't exist. And I get like a feedback from girls mainly
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I love that you post pictures without makeup." And I'm like, "Yeah, because I don't wear them all the time." And they're like, "That's so inspiring, like and now I love that you're doing like all those weird faces and everything. Like, oh man, that inspires me to also, like be chill about the way I look or whatever." And that's the thing, like of course I want to inspire people with first of all, I just want to have fun playing music and everything. And I, of course, and if I can inspire someone with that, that's cool. But I also feel very happy when I just inspire people being themselves,
Kind of extending on that, being that like, you're a part of this, all women band. Now you got another all women band. Like how important is that representation for you?
It's really important. And because before CRYPTA and even before Nervosa, I would only play in all girl bands. It's nothing against you guys. I love you guys. You're great. It's just that I don't know. Like since I was a kid, my dad used to listen to many bands. My dad is a metalhead,
Yeah.
and he would listen to many bands where there would be girls singing or playing. And since I was a kid, I just loved seeing women playing or doing whatever, or like in gymnastics and playing volleyball. I just felt mesmerized. And back then, I didn't know that was, like the representativeness. That was the representation you mean. But I just felt mesmerized and I didn't know why. And then with time, when I actually got into metal and playing, I would look around like on our metal scene here and I would see, like just a few girls playing and I was like, okay, I want to do my part on having more and more girls playing. Like there's a bunch of guy bands, so why not a bunch of girl bands, like that's what I thought. And then I would just join all girl bands. And I never thought of adding a guy to a lineup or whatever, just because, like only us girls know, like how awesome it is to see a girl on stage. It makes us feel, like not only represented, but also like we feel that might be a safe place. Like if she's there following her dream on stage, maybe I'll feel safe on doing the same. Like if it's safe for her, maybe it's safe for me to be there on the stage, like if she's following her dreams, I might want to try it out too, like, so it's really inspiring to see other girls like conquering, more and more, like, and when now that, like I understand the representation thing and everything, I carry it as a flag. Like people say, but how do you feel about the all girl label? And I know lots of girls don't like it. It's no, we can play the same and we're the same, so we don't need a label. I love the label, to be honest. I love the label because to me it represents a fight.
Yeah.
It really does, because like it's not the same yet. Like guys don't get on stage and get like people teaching them what a volume button is. I got that many times. Like I got prevented from getting in my own dressing room like dozens of times, like because they thought I was the groupie and not the musician, like, and I bet this doesn't happen with guys. So it's still not the same. It's still not the same. Like people have this misperception that it's easier to be in an all girl band because you get more attention. But oh man, this is so wrong to think because it's so hard. So as long as the struggle is real, I'll be carrying a flag. Yeah, all girl band because I know how tough it is and I'm proud, like, But yeah, I'm just trying to do my part. Like summarizing, I'm just trying to do my part on inspiring more girls to feel comfortable in playing. That's all.
How do you sort of like mentally deal with that? Because you already mentioned a few things that were like just very misogynistic. People are, and like it's a male dominated thing, and even with metal, it can be like uber testosterone, like blah blah. And you're also a very attractive woman, and like and you already we already talked about how like on Instagram you'll post the goofy faces, stuff without makeup and everything. Like, how do you sort of balance all of that and not like go crazy and still kind of troop on?
Um, I get really inspired on my mom. Like, first of all, my mom's been through all kinds of shit on this life, and like I really look up to her, and she's there like strong and everything. So she's really inspiring to me that like you can get whatever you want even if you're a girl in a misogynist society. Like so I really look up to her, and I also try to come from a place of understanding, which is like I'm a feminist, and I have lots of feminist friends, and sometimes we disagree on this, but I try to come from a place of understanding. So of course we know that are guys who are misogynist on purpose. They know they're being misogynist, and they want to disrespect you. But I also understand that there's many people who don't even notice that, because like misogynism, and it is like this patriarchy thing. It's been deeply rooted on our society for centuries. Like we're not gonna change that.
Yeah.
From night to day. Like it's not gonna happen like this. So I try to come from a place of understanding, and I always try to be like as much how do you say that, didactic, I don't know, educational.
Yeah.
I forgot the word, how to express this, but I always try to come from this place where like I understand, and I try to teach you. I don't want to use the word teach because it sounds like a bit arrogant, as if I knew more than the other guy.
But like kind of hold them accountable and kind of let them know why that's bothersome.
Exactly. Like when a guy, and this happens a lot, comes and take a picture with us. Sometimes they accidentally touch her boob, and instead of punching him on the face, which I would love to do, I try to control myself and just say, dude, if it was Kerry King from Slayer, would you still be trying to touch his nipples? No. So, like we're both musicians, just try and have some respect. And then the guy's like, oh, yeah, like they get embarrassed, and they'll probably learn from this embarrassment. So I just try to explain, like, this is not wrong. And sometimes it's obvious stuff. Like most of the time it's obvious stuff.
Yeah.
But I try, like I this is what I try to do to change that. When you are too radical about something, and you are like trying to force your opinion on someone, and the person like starts disagreeing with you just because. I don't want this to happen with such a thing, like, so I just try to explain to people how this is wrong in a cool way. And the rest is like, I know from my own experience that, not only in Metin, but in our society, it's tough to be a woman. And if you try to take a detour on the role models they have for women, like you'll get yelled at, you'll get pointed at, you'll get whatever at. So I just started creating this hard shell, like it just won't bother me. Not only by being a woman, but whenever you try to do something different, and you try and succeed at something, like there's always going to be people who feel attacked by it. Like when you accomplish something, you kind of light the wounds of people who still haven't and feel bad about themselves in a certain way. So I kind of know that it's unconscious. People don't even notice that it happens. So I also try to be understanding. Like, this person is not talking about me, it's talking about herself. So I'll try to ignore it. Sometimes it's pretty tough. mainly right now that we're during the pandemic, I think people got even wilder on the internet. I don't know what the fuck happened, but like traffic and internet got 10 times worse. People are just like cursing everything on the internet. So I'm just trying to be patient. It's like everyone's cabin fevered. So, and the only outlet they have is the internet. So I'll just not pay attention to that. It might be quite heavy sometimes if you're feeling a bit down. So, but yeah, that's what I try to do. These three things: look up to my mom, try to understand, come from a place of understanding, and try to also understand that, you know, like not everyone's being personal when they're attacking me. It's probably more about themselves too.
Are you still based in Brazil?
Yeah, I am.
How was it growing up there? And when you got older and started making music, like, how was the scene for you there?
I feel so proud of being from the Brazilian metal scene. Like, it's so diverse and rich, and there's so many awesome bands and everything. And yeah, I love the scene. I love the bands we have here, and I love the bands like Sepultura and Crazy and who were so inspirational to me. You know, like they showed me like, yeah, it's possible to be fucked up Brazilian, but still, you know, like live your dream playing around the world. It's hard, partially, you know, like because, you know, like you want to go to a show, like it's so expensive because our currency compared to dollar sucks. So, you know, like whenever there's bands from outside, it's expensive. It's hard if you want to buy an instrument, if you want to have a quality production, everything. So it's expensive. Having a band in Brazil is expensive. That's why I think all Brazilian bands are like warriors, you know, like because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And also, I think a special thing that comes from being a Brazilian metalhead is that I get often asked, like, why does Brazilian metal sound so aggressive? Like, I get that often asked to me, and I say it's pure hate. I mean, you live in a fucked up country. I love Brazil. I really do. And it's a country full of potential. But, you know, like, it's so hard living in here, and like mainly now the government sucks and everything. So it's just like we just get like a daily doses of angry fuel to, and we usually have our music as a tool of expression. So I think, yeah, there's a positive thing about, you know, like living in Brazil. You get so much hatred, and then you translate it into the music and make it sound so aggressive.
When I had CRYPTA on, she was telling me about like just the conditions in the area that she was at, the society, you know, the hardships and everything. You know, from your perspective, what's it like there, and you know, how does that sort of affect you?
It affects me in many ways. Like it's always been like with my family, like mainly my mom's side, like they've been through a lot. They starved, and you know, like so much. It's been so much in her family, like since you know, like years back then, and I just can't ignore like how many societal wounds we have here in Brazil because of inequality and stuff like that. And I tried ignore that for a while and focusing, no, let's focus on metal only and everything. But I'm also a very sensitive person. So like I couldn't avoid actually looking deeply at everything that surrounds me and everything. And because I am so sensitive to you know, like to everything and to suffering, to other people's suffering and everything. So from a while back now, from some years now, like it's hit me hard, you know, like I'm looking around, and mainly with this less governments we have, it's been so tough. And it affects me to like, I'm comfortable where I am now, you know, like I could build like a comfort bubble, let's say. but it still affects me because there's many people around me who like who still suffer a lot and from not having like basic human conditions. So what I started trying to do is like, not only you can see that on my social networks, I'm like I'm always trying to trying to educate people on some stuff and political issues and everything. So maybe with like political actions, we can try and change stuff. So I found a voice through activism, but also uh, I I'm a service person. Like I love serving, being of service, and this has helped me a lot. Like I know, like by donating food to a person, I will not change the system. But that's why I do the activism, because that's how you get there. But but still, I can't close my eyes to people suffering. Like last night, yesterday, I did a post about like people actually dying from the cold weather here in my city, and I was like trying to make people like give $5 to this organization, or donate a blanket, carry a blanket on your car and donate to a person who's living there on the street. And so I just trying to do this, and I'm always involved in so many different actions. Like only in this pandemic, like I've paid rent for my neighbors. I distributed like, I don't know, hundreds of kilos of food, and I'm doing Reiki on people who live on the street. So that's being of service actually helps me not only, like feeling that I'm trying to do my part, and like so people have their basic needs met, at least people around me, but also it helps me understand things that I don't understand. Like I lived in a poor neighborhood during my whole life, and but still, like there's many things that I don't understand because I haven't lived that. Like I've never been a crack addict. I never lived on the streets. I've never been kicked home because like I'm gay or stuff like that. Like so working, I've never starved. So working with these people also helps me try and understand what are the reasons, what are the societal wounds that made people be like going through it. So this way I can adapt it to my activism. Like for example, a quick example, people usually give blankets to people on the street, which is fine. But here in São Paulo, in my city, the mayor often, like in a weekly basis, he asks like the police to remove the blankets from people who live on the street.
Yeah.
And then like many people like didn't know that it's actually better if you can also donate, like a jacket or something, because like they don't need to be walking around with the blankets and stuff like that. So
and like socks
I try
too.
to.
Like that's another thing. Like people don't realize that for like the homeless, because there's a lot of homeless here in Detroit. People will donate other things like food, but a lot of times homeless people really need socks and like
Exactly.
and like hats, because that's another those things. Those parts of the body. Release a lot of the heat. So you need to keep those parts warm too. So jackets, sock. If you can have something you can wear, it's a lot better than a blanket for them.
Exactly. And then I could only notice because again, we live in a bubble and we kind of do things automatic, and we try to help. But then when you get in touch with people like through service, you actually know what their needs are. For example, I'm a girl, and till some years back, I didn't notice that whenever you're making a distribution of hygiene products, like include pads, menstrual pads. And I had never thought of that. Damn, like how do these girls living on the street do? Like what do they do? And then now I had a live now with a feminist band a couple of days ago. And we were talking about exactly, like menstruation and stuff like that. And I brought that into question, and they were like, damn, I never gave like any pad on hygiene kits. I feel so bad,
Yeah, that's the same here in the States. Like, yeah, no one ever really thinks about those things either.
Yeah. And I think being of service helps in this way, like helps connect people who are willing to help with people who need help. That's it. So yeah, it affects me. Uh, but I just try to do my best, like on making people conscious, aware of some stuff, and also being of service. It's the best I can do. I wish I could do more, but I just can't.
You can only do what you can, and being in your
Yeah.
position, you have a voice, you have people out there listening. Um, Even if it inspires a handful of people, that's a handful of people more. Anytime you're donating food, that's just another day that that person has a meal. So like you can only do as much as that you can, and it sounds like you're doing a lot.
Yeah, I think when I yesterday I did this post, and I'm like, the only thing I have in mind is if one person who reads this donates $10, I'll be happy, because like maybe if I didn't do that post, the person it wouldn't strike the person to
Yeah.
do that. So if it's $10 I get out of this to some institution, that's fine. Like so that's I try to do, and I get attacked also by like expressing this voice, like mainly when I am against the current government. Oh man, I get so attacked. I've been like, I had live threats already and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but still I just can't shut my mouth. Like I think
Gotta be
we
you.
need to talk about these things, like mental health. Like I found myself having like pathological anxiety during the pandemic, and I'm like, I suffered a lot, and I'm like, people need to know about this, like, and
Oh
then I
yeah, of
talked
course.
about this. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great that you're sharing that. Very courageous. Like I said, you're somebody who has a following, and to see someone who's like on stage, like rocking out with this very hateful music, to be, yeah, I'm vulnerable at times, and I'm having these issues, like that really comforts a lot of people.
Yeah. I try to do my part, but that's it. I just want to show, coming back to what we were talking before, I just want to show people that if you're sad, it's fine. If you're super excited, it's fine. If you feel guilty for something, it's fine. We all do, like we all, during our life, we'll all go through all sorts of emotions available out there. So it's fine.
Right.
And the same way we do, like Madonna does, and everyone does,
Yeah.
and I'm glad to see more and more like actually big artists, like opening up about, like their sexuality or their mental issues, or like abuse they've suffered. This is so important because like people can get inspired or represented on that, and it's important. It's the first step to change, I think.
Right.
I don't know.
Definitely. Getting back to Crypta.
Oh my God, we went far, right?
Yeah, it's cool. Well, it's fine. I loved it. So with forming Crypta, you already had yourself and Luana. How did you sort of round out the rest of the lineup? Which would eventually be with Sonia and Tanya.
With Sonia, we have been following Sonia for a while. I always liked, since she was a bassist in one of her previous extreme metal bands, I followed her, and I liked her way of playing and technique, of course, but also her stage presence. I love like impactful stage presence, and she's got one. And so yeah, when we were thinking, we knew from the start that we wanted to have two guitarists, because we just would dreamed of having guitar duets.
Yeah.
Like I grew up listening to a new wave of British heavy metal bands with my dad, and there's always like guitar duets and stuff like that. So I kind of dreamed of that. And but when we thought who's gonna be the first one, we both instantly said Sonia. Like, because we really liked the way she was, and we thought it could be a good match. And as for Taina, it's a completely different story, because she was like, we had never ever heard of her. We share the same metal scene, but of course Brazil is huge. But we had nothing, like no friends in common, like no videos on the internet, total stranger. But then, and I thank to God every day for this day, she messaged me out of nowhere. Like, me and Luana, before we quit Nervosa, and not many people remember that, we were talking about this side project. And then she wrote me like, yeah, I noticed you and Luana have a side project going on. I don't know if you have a guitarist, but if not, I would love to join the band. and please let me send some material. I want to share this road with you. And I was like, I was kind of shocked with the attitude. I was like, oh man, that girl's got some attitude. But
Right,
that was
she's
just the
very
first
upfront.
impression.
She's like, boom, this is what I want. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's like the sweetest person ever. And then I was like, yeah, sure, send me some stuff. And we had been doing like extensive research for guitarists for like a year back then. And we just could not find anyone. Lots of girls were not interested. They were focused on school and they were not interested in playing death metal. It was such a struggle to find a guitarist. And then I was like, yeah, and a Brazilian one. That's nice. Send me some video. And then the first video she ever sent to me was like a video of her not playing but nailing every note on Death's Crystal Mountain. And I listened to it and I watched the video and I was like mesmerized. I knew she would be like she was the one. And then after a couple of group chats, she joined the band, and I'm so thankful she did. She's such a nice girl, like the sweetest person ever. And also she's very creative. Like she's gonna contribute a lot to CRYPTA from now on, because when she joined the band, we already had like most of the album, at least the raw structures of the song written. And she gave many suggestions in every song, and added some riffs and of course her solos in every song. But like still like there's not a lot from her. And we started baby steps writing a new album, and her creations are just amazing. She's got this very particular specific way of writing music it's gonna be amazing. I can't wait.
Seeing that you had this urge to like really get back to making death metal, and you start this new band, what was sort of like the creative process, with this new band, having having these new members? How did it feel, and did it feel easier? Did it feel welcoming? Did it feel, refreshing to do all of this?
Yeah, it was definitely cool, because like I looked at CRYPTA and it was a blank page with a world of possibilities to be written on that page. And that was really inspiring and motivating for me, like to explore new ideas and, like new nuances on my own vocals and lyric writing, for example. But also it felt so exciting because death and thrash, like are my main preferences in metal. I just can't have a favorite among them. And I had playing one of my passions for a decade, and now I could exercise the other one, which is death metal. So it was so exciting. And the moment we actually started writing to CRYPTA, except for the beginning, that's baby steps, it's like this. But the moment we we got the way of writing, it just like incredibly started flowing like so naturally and fastly. It was really cool. But yeah, but the main difference I think from Nervosa, not only the genre, of course, but also because we had two guitarists, it expands a little bit more, like the possibilities of creation on the guitars and everything, because you have two instruments, that could go different ways. So we have like riffs and then some leads on it. It's a new way of creating music to me, and it's been so exciting.
During the the creation process of the new material, did you ever find yourself sort of just based off muscle memory thinking about stuff that would be like more of a Nervosa sound?
What happened is, first of all, I spent like 10 years writing thrash. So while I was writing for CRYPTA, I came up with so many good thrash metal riffs. Like I've got a folder. Yeah, I got a folder full of thrash metal riffs, and I'm like, damn, that's a good thrash song. But unfortunately, I don't have a thrash metal band to be playing on anymore. And what I was creating with Nervosa and what I am intending to create here with CRYPTA, they're two completely different worlds. So I could not use those riffs because it would be like too thrashy. I mean, it's not a problem. We got some thrash metal elements on the album, but it just didn't match to the ideas I had. But like when it came to actually writing, it flew like really naturally. It flew. I forgot how to say the past tense for flow, but anyway, you get what I mean. It started flowing like so easily because like I love death metal. Of course, I listen to a lot of my favorite death metal albums to get inspired, but it was like this. Like I didn't actually have to think, like I'll try not to sound like Nervosa or try not to write thrash metal or anything. It was natural because I also love death metal, so it was cool.
You can always like just keep those riffs over there just in case something happens in the future. Like you never know.
You never know. Like after what happened with me and Nervosa and this whole transition process, definitely you never know because I never thought I would be leaving the band. So yeah, let's just save those riffs. I don't intend, like I don't think I have the resilience to start another band from scratch, but in case it happens, I already have some thrash riffs in there.
You never know. Once you finally finished Echoes of the Soul and just sort of, looked at it, listened to it, what was sort of like your feelings about that, like once everything was done?
It was like the Bride of Frankenstein. It's alive! Definitely something like that because, like, oh man, it's just creating music is just fascinating. Because I can't play the guitar. I don't even know how to hold a pick. I just can't play. But still, like every riff I create is guitar riffs. So I have them on my mind, and then I create the vocal riffs that I send to my guitarist, like, and then I just send them, and then they translate into the guitar, and then like we put the whole thing together, and then we have the demos. But then when you listen to the actual album, oh man, it's just not as satisfying as getting on stage because that's the climax. But it's almost there. It's so fulfilling, like to see that scratch of a riff you had on your mind and then that had to go through all these processes and then you're listening to it mastered and it sounds powerful. It's just really cool. But also in an emotional way, it represented a lot. It was a letter to myself that yes, you can do it. Not every end needs to be, like a bad thing. Here you are. So it was a motivational letter to myself. It was really cool.
What do you hope your listeners get out of, this album and just the fact that you have this new band?
Can you repeat? I'm sorry. It kind of cut.
What do you hope your fans, your listeners get out of this new album and just also the fact that you have this new band?
I don't know. First of all, I just want them to have fun, the same way I have when I'm listening to my favorite bands and everything. I just want them to have fun and make them forget about their problems for, the minutes they're listening to the album. This is the most thing, the most important thing. But also there are many messages on the album, like on the lyrics, like I've released for those who are curious about them. I've recently released a behind the lyrics video on our YouTube channel where I explain a bit about every lyric in the album. And, there's so many different messages in there. And I started getting like some feedback from people, people who try and commit suicide and stuff like that, and people who fought like serious heart diseases, and people, all sorts of stuff, people who went through end of their love relationships. So I started getting all sorts of different feedbacks that people, felt comforted about my lyrics, and this is really nice. So yeah, if they can give some comfort to people the same way, like some albums like Back to Black by Amy Winehouse and Ultraviolence by Lana Del Rey, and Lemonade by Beyonce had on me, you know, like the comfort that these albums gave me. If I can give like 1% of the feeling, the comfort I had, and people can get this, like I would be really, really happy. And but yeah, but most of all, like if they have fun, I'll be happy enough.
Before we get out of here, you got any final words you want to tell everybody?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you for, you know, like the chance of having me here talking about all the stuff I love. But also thanks everyone who's checking this interview out. Thanks for the support. It truly means a lot, you know, like after this whole process that there are still people interested to know what I'm doing. It truly, truly means a lot. But my overall message is let's, you know, keep on valuing art more and more and more. Like not only supporting your local scene or whatever, but I mean, you know, like let's just cherish art because during these trying times that we had during the pandemic, the only one thing that we knew that we couldn't live without was art. You know, like we learned that it's hard, but we can live without eating out, without meeting your friends in person. Like we could live, you know, but we did not spend a day without listening to music or watching a movie or watching a series or reading a book. So
yeah, my record collection saved me during my during the pandemic.
Exactly. Like art made everything smoother. You know, like it actually helped us surviving. You know, like it soothed our souls and like overthinking minds during this time. So let's just keep on cherishing because we really feel like, yeah, we cannot live without art. So let's keep on, you know, giving it its proper value.
Well, it's been great talking with you, Joe. I could talk with you for hours and hours. Glad that we finally got to you know, chat. Before we get out of here, where can people go online to get more information about CRYPTA and the debut album Echoes of the Soul?
Mm-hmm. First of all, I told you the hard thing would not put me into talking, but stop me talking.
No, I loved it. It was great.
I could talk for hours. I love it. But yeah, regarding CRYPTA, you can just follow us on our socials. Like we're on Instagram and Facebook, and we post literally everything regarding the band there. So if you want to be updated about everything, Nervosa, everything. I still say that.
Yeah.
I still say Nervosa when I want to say CRYPTA. If you want to know everything CRYPTA related, just make sure you follow us on our socials and make sure also to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're posting lots of content there regarding the album, you know, like all this behind the scenes kind of thing, and you know, like our top favorite riffs here and there, and there's gonna be like playthrough for you to, you know, like learn how to play the song if you want. So all sorts of content for you to check out, you know, like before we can actually be chatting by the merch table in some show.
Right. Hopefully hopefully I'm able to see you in person again sometime in the future.
Will, definitely.
And look, I just got I just got the record in yesterday.
That's awesome. Thank you. Damn. I still don't have my copy, so that's why I get so excited whenever someone holds a copy. Because like they sent from Austria here and still hasn't arrived. Like, I don't know if it'll ever arrive, but yeah. So every time someone holds a copy, I'm like, damn, that's so cool. The US definitely going to be on our plans for 2022. We're definitely going to be there. So we'll definitely be talking by the merch table soon.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. Empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh is the Word. Fresh is the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshistheword. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media on Twitter at Fresh is the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh is the Word. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshesthepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.